You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN E-Mini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things E-Mini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro. Joining us today, Mr. Michael Borg. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. Today is Wednesday, 22nd day of April, 2026. Thanks so much for joining us. Whoever you are, wherever you are, we're just glad to have you right here, right now. Now, the big story as we head into the afternoon session, the market is doing what it so often does. It's climbing a wall of worry and making the fearful pay up. This morning, the Dow, the S&P, and especially the NASDAQ pushed higher after yesterday's weakness, and the reason is pretty straightforward. Traders heard the Iran ceasefire extension and decided, once again, to buy the idea that the worst case is not happening today. Now, that does not mean the danger is gone, far from it. The Strait of Hormuz is still a live risk. Oil is still elevated, and one headline can change the mood in a hurry. But for this morning at least, Wall Street is leaning into relief, not panic. You can see it in the leadership. Tech is back out front. The NASDAQ is leading. AI and chip enthusiasm are still doing heavy lifting. And Boeing is catching a bid after their earnings report. Apple is still being sorted out after the Tim Cook transition news. And Tesla is sitting there as one of the day's biggest tells, going into its earnings report this afternoon when stocks close. Now keep in mind, stocks close at 4 o'clock. Tesla will issue their earnings report. But the futures market doesn't close till 5 p.m. Eastern. Typically, on an ordinary day, the final hour of futures trading from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern is pretty quiet. If there's a big hit or miss on Tesla, we could see a very active final hour in the future session today. On the political side, well, the backdrop matters too. Conservatives are watching key House and redistricting fights, a defense budget that says this administration knows the world is still dangerous, and the Iran story, because energy security is economic security. That is not theory anymore. The market is trading it in real time. So the question for today is simple. Are we looking at real resilience or just another complacent bounce in what has become a headline-driven market? Today's broadcast, we'll dig into that, some sectors, some stocks, and what actually matters for traders and investors instead of the usual noise. We do 2 live broadcasts every trading day. The first broadcast is our live training room. To get in there, you got to be a member or taking your 1-week free trial. This broadcast, on the other hand, is open to the public. Everybody, everywhere on planet Earth with an internet-connected device. Now, there's 2 different ways to join this afternoon broadcast live. The best way, you only have to do it once. Go to mytradingiq.com, scroll down the page to where it says Noon Broadcast. click the link, fill out the 30-second registration form, and you're done. What will happen going forward, every trading day you'll get an email about an hour before this broadcast starts. In the email, there's a link. At 12 noon Eastern, all you do is click the link in the email, and it automatically logs you into our platform. The benefit of doing it that way is you have immediate access to the question box, so you can ask questions and participate in the discussion. Now, there will be days you're out of the office, away from your desktop, but you still want to join live. And some days you'll be busy, so you can't join live, but you do want to get caught up later. You can do both of those via our YouTube channel, which is easy to remember. youtube.com/CFRN. That's the Christian Financial Radio Network since 2005. Not only do we broadcast live every trading day on our YouTube channel, but we also archive each and every daily broadcast. Currently, there's over 3,000 daily episodes archived for your educational and viewing pleasure. And if you're new to our neck of the woods, it's a great way to get to know who we really are. Thanks to the power of YouTube, you can scroll back 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years, even more, a lot more. Now, obviously, you're not going to watch them all, nor do you need to, but it's a great resource to have at your fingertips because it allows you to see how we've evolved over all these years, day by day by day. youtube.com/CFRN. On the left side of the screen is our schedule for each afternoon broadcast. Now, at the top of the hour, roughly 1 p.m. Eastern, Michael will join us for a recap of everything that happened this morning in the live training room and do a little live trading as time and the markets permit. But right now, we'll start where we always do with our daily devotional. The topic that we're on and will be on for about a month: everyday faith. Today's scripture, Psalms 139, verses 23 through 24, from the NIV translation. Search me, God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there is any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. Again, Psalms 139, verses 23 and 24. Remembering builds confidence, but growth requires honest examination. Search me, O God, and know my heart. See if there is any grievous way in me. Now, David, from the Bible, does not start with outward behavior. He begins with the heart. That is where motives take shape, where pride settles quietly, where fear can present itself as wisdom. The beginning of that scripture said, search me, asking God to search you. That prayer yields control. It places the inner life before God without conditions. It asks Him to uncover what we would rather manage ourselves. It is easier to admit what others already notice. It is harder to invite God to expose what we have justified as reasonable. The tone in your voice that you defend, the ambition you justify as obedience, The irritation you call discernment. And the anxiety you call responsibility. The Spirit does not search in order to condemn. He searches us for the truth. And the truth is the doorway to freedom. It is always meant to draw us closer to Jesus. We often ask God to use us. We are slower to ask Him to examine us. If something in you resists being searched, that resistance itself is worth noticing. Where are you unwilling to be known? I want you to think about that. Now, I brought up the other day, my change of life happened when I was 37. I won't go through the whole story again. But as my life changed and God began to do all these miraculous and marvelous things, I realized that there were some things that I was still sort of holding in, holding on to, maybe a little shady. So my wife and I, we were out one afternoon at an estate sale. And there was this incredibly beautiful glass desk. And you're thinking, what? A glass desk? Yep. Now, basically, it was a pedestal on each end, glass, and a glass top. It was pretty big, pretty impressive. But it had no drawers. You know how sometimes we stick stuff in a drawer and hide it from prying eyes? When I saw that desk, I knew I had to have it in my office because I really wanted to change. No more secrets, no more hiding things. And when you have a glass desk, well, you can't hide anything. You got to keep your shoes on too. So, just another little slice of my life that maybe will help you. What is it that maybe you're hiding, or you don't want other people to see, or really don't want God to see? The whole purpose of what we've talked about today is that you need to open yourself up to God. Search me, God, and whatever's wrong in me, show me. And then, by the power of the Holy Spirit, help me fix it. So one more question. What areas of your life feel guarded when you imagine God looking closely at you? Let's pray. Heavenly Father, search me. Search us. Show us what we would rather not see. And then, Lord, lead us in what is true, because your word says the truth shall set us free. It's in Jesus' name we believe and pray. And everybody said, amen. Amen and happy Wednesday. Let me give you the numbers from around the world. Then we go to the news, then we go to the alerts, then we go to the charts, then Michael shows up. Just like that and in that order. So starting here in the U.S. with the cash markets, or the indices as they're called, the Dow's up 333 points. NASDAQ's up 317. That's well over 1.25%. S&P 500 up 59, almost 1%. And the Russell 2000, it's only up 12. That concerns me just a little bit. We'll see what happens. In the commodity basket, crude oil up $3.30, trading 92.97 last. That's a gain of over 3.5%. Gold up $29.70, trading 47.49 last. Silver up $1.47, trading 77.96 last. That's a gain of almost 2%. In the Asian markets at the close, the Nikkei posted a gain of 236 points. The Shanghai rose 21, but the Hang Seng fell 324. That's 1.25%. And in the European markets at the close, FTSE down 21, the DAX down 75, the CAC down 79. And for the CAC, that's almost 1%. So we had a mixed day in Asia. It was a red day for the UK. But at the moment, it's a big green Radio Wednesday here in the US of A. Let's take a look at some news. The Southern Poverty Law Center was indicted yesterday on federal fraud charges tied to its use of paid informants to surveil extremist groups. The Justice Department alleges the Alabama-based Legal Advocacy Center misled donors by channeling millions of dollars to individuals affiliated with certain groups, including the Ku Klux Klan. You probably didn't even think they existed anymore. They do. They just don't wear bed sheets. Not in public. Now, the SPLC says the program, which reportedly began in the 1980s, was necessary to monitor threats of violence and kept relatively secret to protect the informants. It has previously shared gathered intelligence with local and federal law enforcement. The FBI, however, severed decades-long ties with the center in October, with Director Kash Patel calling it partisan and criticizing the center's map of anti-government and extremist groups. In the late 1990s, an undercover informant working with the SPLC and the FBI infiltrated one of the nation's most dangerous hate groups. He's credited with thwarting a plot to assassinate SPLC founder Morris Dees. NASA unveiled its Roman Space Telescope yesterday, an instrument that could allow researchers to observe an area of the cosmos 100 times larger than the Hubble Space Telescope. Roman could help scientists find exoplanets by identifying distortions in starlight that may indicate a planet passing in front of stars. The telescope also aims to answer questions about the formation of the universe, as well as dark matter and dark energy. The observatory, estimated to cost over $4 billion, will be launched on a SpaceX Falcon Heavy from Florida as soon as this fall. Separately, researchers published a study yesterday on findings from Mars' Curiosity rover. Samples collected from the planet's Gale crater revealed over 20 chemicals, including a molecule containing nitrogen that resembles proto-DNA. Further research is needed to determine if the compounds came from a meteorite, geological processes, or ancient organisms. A 25-year-old golden helmet and 2 golden bracelets were returned to Romania yesterday, ending a 14-month saga that began when the pieces were taken from a Dutch museum. The recovery brings a set of national heirlooms back to Bucharest So the search for a third missing bracelet is ongoing. Turning to Wall Street. Again, U.S. stocks climbing today after Trump extended the U.S. ceasefire with Iran, and as investors fielded a rush of earnings in the wait for Tesla's results this afternoon after the bell. Be ready for that. Markets have come under pressure amid growing skepticism that Washington and Tehran will be able to reach a lasting peace agreement. Well, I don't think we will, because Tehran won't do what they say they're willing to do. They say it, and the next day they violate it. Trump's extension of the truce introduces temporary relief, but the path forward remains uncertain. Efforts to hold a fresh round of talks have fallen apart, with Trump citing difficulty dealing with the seriously fractured Iranian government. Iranian officials, meanwhile, say the talks are a waste of time because of the U.S.'s lack of commitment to previous deals. We haven't broken any deals. We've done exactly what we said we were going to do. Unfortunately, Iran can't do the same thing. At the last peace talks, we had, 3 guys? They had 70. Everybody wants to be a chief. Nobody wants to be an Indian. Hopefully that doesn't insult anybody. Wasn't meant that way. But you know what I'm talking about. Everybody wants to be the new boss of Iran. It's hard to negotiate a deal when you don't have a boss. So I think what Trump probably should do is pick one guy and say, okay, we're going to deal with this guy. The rest of you need to line up behind him. If you don't, we're going to take you out. We know where you sleep. If Kevin Warsh is confirmed to chair the Federal Reserve, he will step into one of the most powerful roles in economics just in time to inherit a major energy crisis, the fallout of which has already complicated the U.S. central bank's path forward on rate-setting policy. The Fed's dual mandate, stable prices and maximum employment, leaves the central bank between a rock and a hard place in an energy shock. Warsh, who served on the Fed throughout the 2008 recession, would take over at a moment when policymakers are confronting a critical problem for central banks. Rising fuel costs typically lift headline inflation and can feed into broader price pressures, so-called core inflation, through more expensive goods and services, strengthening the case for keeping interest rates elevated or even raising rates. If Warsh gets confirmed and raises the rates, Trump will freak out. You don't heal a fragile economy with high interest rates. Ask Europe. They'll tell you. They're about to go broke. Google debuted 2 AI processors during its Google Cloud Next conference in Las Vegas today. The new chips, called the TPU-8T and the TPU-8i, push Google further into competition with partners NVIDIA and AMD. Earlier this month, the company announced an expanded deal with Anthropic to provide multiple gigawatts of next-generation TPU capacity to the AI lab. SpaceX, they're getting ready to go public. They've already filed. I've given you the symbols of how you can get a piece of what is supposedly going to be the single largest IPO in history. Roughly $2 trillion. That's a lot of money. Now, you got to be an accredited investor to buy actual shares on the secondary market. But I've given you the symbols of some funds and some other stocks that serve really as a proxy for SpaceX. So I just hate to see anybody miss that IPO. SpaceX yesterday announced it has struck a deal with AI coding tool maker Cursor, which gives SpaceX the option to purchase the startup later this year for $60 billion. See, they're going to wait till after the IPO and see how that goes. And then if they have the extra cash, I'm guessing they'll spend $60 billion to acquire this company, Cursor. SpaceX AI and Cursor AI are now working closely together to create the world's best coding and knowledge work AI, according to the post on X. Telling you what, this OpenClaw, it's something else. Now that's a whole different animal, but if you're not familiar with Claude or OpenClaw, check out the Breeze channel. I'll put some information in there for you. Bitcoin jumped along with equities today, hitting an 11-week high after President Trump said he would extend the ceasefire with Iran, bolstering market confidence. The original cryptocurrency rose as much as 4.6% in New York morning trade, briefly topping $79,171, its highest price since February 3rd. Other crypto assets also advanced, with Ether climbing as much as 4.7%. And from Bloomberg, the world's biggest energy traders are reaping a fresh profit bonanza as the war in Iran causes unprecedented disruption to the oil markets. It's too early to say if 2026 will rival the industry's record haul in the wake of Russia's full invasion of Ukraine in 2022-23, but several of the biggest commodity traders are already seeing the highest profits since that time, according to executives and financiers. I better skip that one. The Supreme Court will hear arguments today regarding removal proceedings against an immigrant legally in the United States charged with counterfeiting. When I was on my little trip this weekend, we stopped in I think it was a Beal's outlet, someplace my wife likes to shop. And my wife handed her a $20 bill. She just bought a t-shirt. And the lady brought out the little marker and marked it. My wife's such a cut up. As the lady gave her back her change from the 20 that she had marked with that little special marking pen, that tells you if it's counterfeit or not. My wife counted her change. I was like, a 5 and 4 ones. My wife goes, real deadpan and straight face. She goes, "Could I borrow your pen?" The lady goes, "Huh?" She goes, your pen there." So my wife, she marks her 5 and she marks the ones and hands the lady back the pen, and then we all bust out into laughter. My wife says, "Do you really mark every bill that comes in?" She goes, "I not only mark them, I put a smiley face on them so that if there's ever any trouble, they can't say it was me. If it doesn't have the smiley face, I didn't handle it." She said last week they caught a counterfeit $5 bill. They used to only counterfeit like hundreds. But I guess technology has advanced so much that it's profitable for them to counterfeit $5 bills. I was kind of surprised. Anyway, back to this person legally in the country charged with counterfeiting, an immigrant. The case has the potential. Now, the Supreme Court's hearing arguments today on this. The case has the potential to affect the operations of Customs and Border Protection, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and immigration courts. If the Supreme Court affirms the Second Circuit, it will make it much more difficult for ICE and border agents to determine that a green card holder with a criminal offense coming back into the United States is inadmissible. The case itself has an interesting backstory, as the plaintiff, Muk Choi Lau, that's fun to say, a Chinese national, was charged with counterfeiting before leaving the country, but was convicted after returning and being placed on parole. The case is Blanche versus Lau, renamed for acting Attorney General Todd Blanche after initially being Bondi versus Lau. Well, we all know Pound Bondi's gone. There are two key questions in the case. First, will immigration officers or immigration judges make a determination if a person is admissible? Second, the court will decide whether a parole decision is reviewable by the courts. Lau, a lawful permanent resident in the U.S., was charged in May of 2012 on New Jersey state charges for selling almost $300,000 worth of knockoff Coogie shorts. Before his trial, he left the country but returned June 12th when immigration officers at JFK International stopped him. The Immigration and Nationality Act says the green card holder who leaves the country and re-enters are generally not regarded as seeking admission into the United States. However, an exception exists for a crime involving moral turpitude, which would include fraud or theft. And last but not least, Virginia voters narrowly approved. Now, this is really bad news, okay? Virginia voters narrowly approved a gerrymandered House map yesterday. The returns came in last night. This is expected to add 4 Democratic seats in the midterms. The 2026 Virginia redistricting amendment passed with 51% of the voters backing the yes campaign and 49% casting their ballot for no, with 94% of votes counted. As a result, the light blue state, where former Vice President Kamala Harris won less than 52% of the vote in 2024, will likely see 91% of its House seats drawn to favor Democrats. Prior to the state's new lopsided gerrymander, Democrats held 6 of Virginia's 11 seats, or 55%, a percentage just slightly higher than the share of the vote Harris won there. The new map, which some analysts say will disenfranchise the state's rural areas, leaves just 1 Republican-held seat, the 9th District. It redraws the 4 seats held by Republican reps Rob Whitman, Jen Keegans, John McGuire, and Ben Klein to favor Democrats. Dark money groups backing the successful yes campaign significantly outspent the opposition to the referendum. The chief group in support of the 10-to-1 Democratic gerrymander, known as Virginians for Fair Elections, raised $64 million, with a quarter of this total going to television ads. The outlet, the Washington Post, likened uncovering the source of the group's money to taking apart a many-layered Russian nesting doll. Virginians for Fair Elections notably took $5 million from the Fund for Policy Reform, a group affiliated with and funded by left-wing billionaire George Soros' Open Society Foundations Network. Meanwhile, House Majority Forward, a left-wing spending group linked to House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, and not required to disclose its donors, poured about $40 million into the pro-gerrymander effort. Now, they're only doing this long enough to get through the midterms, and then they're going to go back to the original map. people of Virginia got hoodwinked. I mean, they did. Okay, enough moaning and groaning. Let's go to the Logic 247 alerts. We're currently in week 403. Over the last 403 weeks, we've issued over 22,000 individual handcrafted alerts. And we've averaged on a weekly basis 20% or less of the alerts being stopped out based on simple market structure. A very simple process we teach all of our passport holders. Since the markets opened Sunday night at 6 p.m. Eastern, we've issued a total of 44 logic alerts. When Valerie did the recap this morning at 6:30 a.m. Eastern, we were still waiting on the outcome of 10. Plus, I put out a couple more this morning, though she'll update the recap this afternoon as she does. So at the time of the recap this morning, we had 34 actionable alerts, of which 4 or 12% would have been stopped out. Again, based simply on market structure and the simple process we teach all of our passport holders. The purpose of the logic alerts is to help you learn how to read a chart. If you want to trade for a living, you got to learn how to read a chart. And I don't mean, oh, looks like things are going up, or, oh, looks like things are going down. There's a little bit more to it than that. Every logic alert, all 22,000 plus, have an entry price, long or short, an initial target, in most cases, additional targets, and then a final trade to target. It's important that you know when you look at a chart where to anticipate potential resistance and potential support just simply by looking at the chart. You don't need any kind of indicator, any kind of oscillator. You just got to read the chart. When you understand where the market is most likely to find support and resistance, you then discover the windows of opportunity where you find your best high probability, low risk trade opportunities. So if you never actually trade a logic alert, you can still use them to learn how to read the chart. And if you're serious about learning how to trade, you'll take the time to learn. Otherwise, you won't be around for long. 403 weeks is a long time, about 7.5 years. But many years before we introduced Logic 247, we had our original alert service, the Concierge Trade Alerts. Now, the logic alerts can come out anytime around the clock, 2 a.m. or 2 p.m. Futures trade around the clock. We have traders around the globe. Our day session is their night session and vice versa. The CTAs, however, don't come out around the clock. They're published each day as a static report, typically 5 minutes ahead of the Globex Open. Last night, I was on the ball. I got them out 23 minutes before the Wednesday session started. The Wednesday session we're in right now started last night at 6 p.m. Eastern. It will end today at 5 p.m. Eastern, and the Thursday session will begin tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern. That's how it works. So typically this will say 5:55 p.m. Eastern, but I had the time, so I just went ahead and published them. So what this means is 23 minutes before the markets opened last night, all of our traders had all of these targets: S&P 500, the Dow, the Russell, crude oil, the NQ, gold, and silver. So now we'll go take a look at the individual charts. We'll start, of course, where we always do, with the daily chart of the bellwether, the S&P 500 E-mini futures. Yesterday we talked about the double top. We also talked about the fact that price was sitting on top of the black step line, which is potential resistance. However, the black step line, look on the way up, how the blue and climbing and the black step line, see how they're running parallel to each other? And as they get closer and closer and closer, because of this consolidation, the step line crosses to, now you can all agree that the black line's on the left side of the blue line, right? What side of the blue line is the black line on now? The right side. Okay, so why is that a big deal? When that happens, when the step line crosses, just like down here, see how the step line crossed red and falling? And we went back to the BBC. Now we're looking for price to come down to the daily BBC. And perhaps I should explain. Price always reverts to the mean. It doesn't matter what you trade or how you trade it. Price still reverts to the mean. It's sort of like gravity. It just is. Okay. What's interesting though, now, number one, for us, the mean is this green line. Okay, we call it the BBC, stands for bull, bear, cross. When price crosses below the green line, we're bearish and expect lower prices. When price crosses above the green line, we're bullish and expect higher prices. Now, what's real interesting is the pullback holds more often than it doesn't. See, leg retracement, the pullback held. Now, the pullback holds more often than not, but eventually it will trade through like it did here. Okay, so we got a leg and a retracement that lasted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. And you might say, well, that pullback didn't hold. Yeah, it did, because every one of those candles is physically touching the green line. So we had a leg and a retracement, a leg and a retracement, a leg and a retracement, a leg, and then we got below the BBC. And we had a head fake right here. And then we got back on top. And this pullback held from below. Pullback held, pullback held, pullback held, until it didn't. And then the pullback held and held and held until it didn't. Price always reverts to the mean. Now, as you can see, once we got below the BBC, the pullback held and held and held, and it even held here. Both of those candles are still touching the green line. And it held. Now, March 5th, we touched the BBC. We didn't touch it again until April 6th, a month. That's kind of unusual, but there it is. Price always reverts to the mean. Our lingo, it's called a pullback to the BBC, the green line. So now that the step line is crossed blue and climbing, we're looking for a retracement back to the BBC. If Tesla doesn't have blowout earnings today, that could be, as I said earlier, we're in a headline-driven market right now. We're still technical traders. And even though we're in a headline-driven market or markets, technical trading still works just fine. Now, yesterday I was expecting a pretty brisk move down to at least this area right here. And I still think that's a good area for support right there. 70.58. You see, this candle has a wick sticking up and the next candle has a wick sticking down. You just put your crosshair right in the middle. That's an important price, important area. 70.56. That's the number I gave you yesterday. Once price gets through there, then you got the 24% fib retracement. That should be good for a bounce. But ultimately, price will revert to the mean and come back to the BBC. Now, here's one other scenario that is possible. If price were to just continue consolidating sideways, the BBC would then move up to meet price. That's a very different dynamic than when price drops to the BBC. But I won't go into all that for now. Just know that blue and climbing directly above price, that is potential resistance. The black step line's potential support, and that's where we launched from today. How we close today will be very important. And again, the final hour of futures trading from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. could be very active based upon Tesla's earnings report, which will come out just a few minutes after the stock market closes at 4 o'clock. Now, yesterday's low, that's also a point where you might find some potential support. Okay. 70.85. Now, all of the alerts, both the logic alerts, Logic 247, and the concierge trade alerts, they're all created on a 30-minute chart. There's nothing magic about 30 minutes. It's just the time frame I chose years ago. If it ain't broke, leave it alone. The vertical line separates today Wednesday. Here's Tuesday. Back here's Monday. Now, if you're wondering about this big arrow down here, remember we had a gap lower open Sunday night. And this low right here, what's the low of that candle? 70.85. What's the low of this candle? 70.85. To the tick. That's all part of market structure and learning to read the market. Or read the chart. So, the horizontal lines are the weekly trading zones. They're published every Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. Once they're published, they're carved in stone for the entire week. They don't change in any way whatsoever. When price rallies up to a weekly trading zone, we expect resistance until proven otherwise. When price drops to a weekly trading zone, we expect support until proven otherwise. We've published the zones now for well over 16 years, every Monday. If you're one of our traders, make sure you get the zones on your chart as soon as they come out Monday morning before the Wall Street Open. And again, once they're published, they don't change for the entire week. Now, one of three things happens when price encounters a weekly trading zone. 70% of the time it's this, consolidation. 20% of the time it's this, rejection. 10% of the time it's the slice. That's when a 30-minute candle slices through a zone like it's not even there. When it runs out of steam, it will typically retrace back to the zone it sliced through and continue in the direction of the slice. That's a picture-perfect example. So again, when price encounters a weekly zone, only one of three things can happen. So, last night our traders had these targets that I just showed you. 27 minutes or 23 minutes, whatever it was, before the market opened. This was the opening candle. We ran right up to the weekly zone that was published Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern, and we found resistance. Resistance will send the market looking for support. pull back to the BBC held. Support will send the market looking for resistance. Found it at red and falling. And then support at the BBC, and then resistance based off the previous swing high. Resistance sends us back to support. Now this is support times 2. You've got the zone and the BBC. And then at 8 o'clock this morning, we got a leg that took us right up to the CTA long target. Now, you see that wick right there? I want you to look over here where this arrow is pointing. That's what we call a bearish cross. That's when the red line gets below the green line and leads to an extended move. When that happens, the first time price revisits that area will almost always be good resistance. I hope you can see the wick right there. Okay, this was a green candle all the way up, and then it backed off. And then the 30-minute candle closed and a new candle opened, and we came down to the BBC and the weekly trading zone, found support. Off we go again. Now this time, the second time up, we overcame. And we got to this, we didn't take out this high. See how close we came from yesterday, this high right here? That's a sign of weakness. So price has now pulled back to the BBC. We know the pullback holds more often than it doesn't. Is it going to hold this time? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. That's how that works. On the Dow. Yesterday, if you were tuned in live in real time, you saw me draw this window of opportunity. And before the broadcast was even over, we had filled the window of opportunity. And then we filled it again. And then we filled it again. Is that uncommon? Not at all. Not at all. Now, this candle here, you see how red and falling curled up under price? When it does that, it becomes support, potential support, because it's probably going to blue and climbing. Red and falling is bearish, blue and climbing is bullish, okay? Now right here, you see how price ran all the way up to the BBC? So you had a leg and a retracement in the pullback hill. And then we consolidated for hours and hours overnight. And then we put in a leg, a retracement, pullback held. We hit the long target, which was also based on the bearish cross from yesterday. Pretty cool, huh? Now, I want you to look at blue and climbing. It just turned red. See that little red speck back there? That tells me there's a high probability we're going lower. Now, buyers could come in right here, right now, at this bullish cross. That's what's holding it up right now, is this bullish cross. Buyers could come in and push us higher, but the path of least resistance is down at least to the zone. Maybe we find support in that area right there. Maybe right here. 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 And then, of course, the zone where we found support yesterday. Remember, the vertical line separates today, Wednesday, back here's Tuesday, back here's Monday. Now, when I drew the window of opportunity yesterday live on the broadcast, if you missed it, you can go watch it, youtube.com/CFRN. We archive each and every daily broadcast. I was reaching all the way back to Monday's price action to draw the window of opportunity yesterday. So the market's pretty quiet right now. But since blue and climbing has turned to red and falling, see what happened up here when blue and climbing turned to red and falling? We're just starting that, okay? Moving on. The Russell. Here's where we opened last night. Got a leg and a retracement and a leg right at the bearish cross. That's a powerful tool. Use it. Resistance sent us back to support at the BBC. Support at the BBC sent us back to resistance at the long target, which sent us back to support at the BBC, which sent us back up to the long target, and we spiked it a little bit to this spot right here, where the black step line dropped below the BBC. Right there. Now we're below the BBC. Remember I told you that the Russell concerned me because it was only up 12 points when I gave you the numbers from around the world? See, everything's starting to come off, and the Russell's leading the way down, it looks like. We just had a bearish cross there. The red line got below the green line. Now your next area for potential support's right here, where red turned to blue. That would be 27.78. And then the low of this candle, 27.72, which is also the zone, 27.71/72. That's where price is headed. On the NQ, this is where we opened last night. And by 8 o'clock, we had hit the long target. We consolidate, and that's right where the bearish cross was yesterday. We consolidated, pull back to the BBC, the pullback held. So we got a leg, retracement, pullback held, leg, retracement, pullback held, leg, retracement, pullback held. And now we've been consolidating for a few hours at the weekly zone. Remember, that's what happens 70% of the time when price encounters a zone. Also notice the black step line. See how they were running parallel to blue and climbing on the way up? But now look at the black step line. It's hooking a right turn. Once it crosses blue and climbing, look for price to head back to the BBC. And the Russell is leading the way to the downside. Crude oil. Here's where we opened last night. We ran into resistance. When blue and climbing gets directly above price, it becomes potential resistance. It sent us down to support at the BBC. Price always reverts to the mean. Then we reached down and hit the short target, which was simply based off that triple bottom from yesterday afternoon. Support is going to send the market looking for resistance. So we got a leg and a retracement, and then a leg that took us right up to the long target, which was based off yesterday's high. Now we're above that and climbing. As crude climbs, look for equities to fall. I'm starting to think some info has leaked on the Tesla earnings report due out right after the Wall Street close today, because equities are already dropping. We'll see. And crude is climbing. Now gold caught a nice rally overnight, but look where it ran into trouble, at the weekly zone. Support at the zone, resistance at the zone, support at the zone, consolidation at the zone. So we had this big leg, hit resistance at the zone, pulled back to the BBC, consolidated there, then we got below the BBC, leg retracement. And now next area for potential support would be probably right here. Hopefully the step line will cross red and falling, and we'll go back to the BBC, overcome the BBC, and recapture the overnight highs. Silver didn't get quite as hard as gold yet. This is where we opened last night. We made a run at the long target. We got to the weekly trading zone, consolidated, and then pushed higher. But we didn't make it to the long target. Now, you only need 2 pennies in silver to get your goal for the day. And since about 5:30 this morning, we've basically been just pinging back and forth between the BBC and the zone, and the BBC and the zone, and the BBC and the zone. But now we've had a bearish cross. The red line has gone below the green line, and so we should expect lower prices. You got potential support right here at 77.42. If that doesn't hold, we may see 76.52. If that doesn't hold, 76.11. And if that doesn't hold, then the short target, and then the zone. Let me remind you that just last Friday, we had a high on silver at 83.24. And now we're trading 77.82. Okay, Michael's here, so he's going to give us a recap of what happened in the live training room this morning and do a little live trading as time and the markets permit. Keep an eye on your daily charts, guys. We could get a triple top here because blue and climbing is directly above price, so that could be the turning point.
Could be the end of it.
All right. Looks good.
Right. Excellent. Here we go. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Wednesday, the 22nd day. The 22nd day of April, 2026. So we have one more Wednesday in April. Anyway, if you have not taken a free trial with us, go here to mytradingiq.com, click on the purple button. There's no credit card required for this trial. Just click on that purple button and it's going to bring you to this registration page. Now on this page, all that we ask for is your name, your email, and your phone number. Down at the bottom, gives you TradingView login ID. Hit register. Once you hit register, you are going to be sent everything you need to get into the room in the morning, okay? And to get your indicators indicating on your desktop. We will enable them. Once you give us that TradingView login ID, we'll enable them for you and send you everything you need. All you have to do is open up the layout that we give you and click copy, and you'll have everything working as we have it in the session. All right, so today we ended up with a better day than we've had in the past couple of days, but it was back and forth a bit today. If you're going to read the spreadsheet, you got to read all the CTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. Today, as I said, is the 22nd day of April 2026. The NQ saved us today. We had 2 full targets on the NQ today. Put us at 168 ticks. On the Russell, we were +5. On the YM, we were -10. And on the ES, we were -17. Put us at 602.50 on the morning session, which, you know, way back in the day would be a respectable number, but now it's about half of what we normally get. Today it took 4 minutes and 2 trades to get to the goal for the day. At that point, we're up $155 a contract, or $1,550. And we took 24 trades with 6 stop outs today. That gives us 75%. It's the second time this month we've been at 75%. And 75 is the lowest we've had all year. On the month now, that puts us at $9,702 over 12 business days, averaging $808 per contract for a 2-hour business day, well below, 30% below what we normally are. And yeah, hang on, let me just go check something here. It says, yeah, no, I'm not. Hang on. I just got a text message. No, I am not. All right. So on the year now, we're at $76,007 over 66 business days, averaging $1,151 per contract per 2-hour business day. We don't like to get that below $1,200, but it has been since well, since a few days ago. Right, at the beginning of the month, we were over 1,200 until about right here. Then we started to get close to 1,200. Then we had all of these days right here where we haven't made $1,000 a contract yet. That's crazy. It hasn't been like that in a really long time. You know, with the majority of the days they're below 1,000. It has not been like that in a really long time. So, oops. Right up here is where we are. Following the 24/20 blueprint, so far this year we worked 8.5 hours getting our goal. And again, we've taken some time off this year because we had a bunch of things to do. And we'll be taking time off again next week. I'm not exactly sure what 2 days, but there's going to be 2 days next week. Wednesday will definitely be one of them. It's either Tuesday, Wednesday, or Wednesday, Thursday. I'm not exactly sure which two. But anyway, the 24/20 blueprint worked 8.5 hours. It did everything exactly like I did. And you get the same slippage that I did and everything else. You'd be trading 4 contracts right now. You'd be up $23,345 gross, averaging $2,746 per hour. Getting gold. All right, let's get into the trades. Now, there are only 24 of them, so it's not going to take too long to get into the trades. But, and this is all of the Russell right here, the whole Russell morning. So we started out with a +6, then we got 5 more to get us to +11. Then we had 13 more to get us to 24. Then we stopped out, put us at -1. Then we got a +5. I'm sorry, +6. That put us at +5. And that's where we ended up. And there was just a trade right here a minute ago, but it didn't go full cycle from that trade. Right? That was the Russell today. Now the YM, we were never positive on the YM. We had these 2 trades and that's it. We stopped out on our first trade and then we picked up 15 ticks on the second trade. So we were -25 there, -10 there. And that was it. The YM does not have a trade right now either. Okay, the ES, we were actually positive on the ES for part of the morning. Right here at the beginning, the ES was part of the ES was part of getting the goal this morning. We picked up 2 ticks on our first ES trade and 4 ticks on our next one to get us to +6. That was part of getting the goal. And then we stopped out there. That put us at I'm sorry, we got 1 more +1 somewhere to get us to +7. Then we stopped out and that put us at -3. Then we picked up 2 ticks to get us to -1. Then we picked up 4 ticks to get us to +3. Then we stopped out and put us at -7. Then we stopped out again, put us at -17. This stop out was pretty much to the tick. All the other stop outs were full stops. Since then, it's like there was a trade right there that was okay to take. There was one right at the end of the morning session that I didn't get right here. That wouldn't work out. There was one on the NQ that wouldn't work out either. That would have been okay right there. That would have been a good one right there. And that right there would have been okay. So 3 okay trades. And I guess this right here, what it's doing right now. If I could find my DOM, I'd put it on. Still can't find my DOM. I was trying to do all that open gloss stuff. Didn't break. There it is. All right. I'm not even sure that hit the mid band on the pullback. It looks like it did. Anyway, I just put it on. So we have our first trade on right now. It's an ES trade. I just put on. Here it is. And we're going to lock in something on that one. All right. So we're positive on this session. Got +1 tick on the ES. I'll let you know if that goes anywhere. It doesn't really have anything above it that it looks like it's going to. Maybe up at 71.60. Well, now it's starting to go. So I guess I'll bring it over and manage it in front of you. There, +4 ticks. Okay. So plus 4 ticks on the ES. And that's where we ended it with the ES. Now the NQ is our big money maker today. We had some nice trades on the NQ. And we did have one stop out, but we started out here. Our first trade on the NQ was a plus 10. The next trade was a plus 30. They got us up to 40. The one after that was at 50. They got us up to 90. Then we had a 12. That got us to 102. Then we stopped out down to 66. And then we're from 66 up to 115. Then 115 up to 147. Then 147 to 159 and 159 to 168. And that is where we ended it. It looks like during the break, let's see. That was, this is one that I said right at the end of the morning session. The ES had one that would have stopped out in the morning. I mean, the NQ did too. Going forward after that, looks like that might have been a trade right there. As we continue to move forward, that would have been a trade there. That would have been a trade there. And that would have been a trade right there. It's got one just about setting up right now too. Okay. And that is fill it out. Once you fill it out, then all you have to do is give us a TradingView login ID. All right. Once you give us that, we'll enable the tools for you, get your indicators indicating on your desktop, and you can start trading exactly as we do. Hopefully. Should be even better. Your results should be better than mine, because you don't have as many distractions as I do. All right, so let's get in there and trade some now. Today, so far today, this is today. We have 4 ticks on the ES, and we are 1 and 0. If we start trading right now, we have 18 minutes. Oops, let's copy this one. Paste, copy that one. Paste. Okay, and today is 83. And 4:22. This becomes an 83. All right. So that's where we are right now. Let's get in there and see if we can get anything else. The NQ came out of the oversold here without coming off the mid-band. The ES came out of the oversold without coming off the mid-band. The Russell needs to hit the mid-band to give us an up close. The YM needs to close down, hit the mid-band, and then close up on the next bar. That's what it looks like to me. All right. So it's really kind of mixed up kind of session today. Now, if you look at the ES, just yes, I think that went down too far. Now I was just going to blow up the ES, but the Russell's just about going to trade here. So if we look at the bottom of that, 84 is to be buying 86 on that right now. I was going to blow the ES up so you can take a look at what that looks like today. Okay, really no major trend in any direction. Started out right over here, and it's just a little above that right now. So the markets just can't figure out what the heck to do right now. I expect a lot of people are just sitting on their hands, waiting to see what happens in Iran. So 15 minutes is what we have now. 15 minutes. Try to make back. Well, do better than yesterday anyway. Yesterday we just didn't have enough time to overcome the couple of stuff I would say we had. Now on the Russell, it's got a low here of 3.9. So that means you buy 5.9 like that. This is not a trade over here on the NQ, not a trade on the S, not a trade yet on the YM, not a trade yet on the Russell either. We need the up close. And there it is on the Russell. We're in right now. At pretty much exactly the right place. So I can't ask for much more than that. Well, now I could ask for a full target, but I'll just be happy with being in the trade for right now. They do another one? Bart said Iran is attacking boats. Now, it makes you wonder if they're just like people that are wandering out there willy-nilly with no commander. You know what I mean? No organized attack. Just keep poking the bear. All right, the YM could give us a trade here now. The Russell looks like it's going to stop us out, and the YM's just about to give a long trade. Russell is going to stop us out. It just did. Okay, and the YM still looks like it's going to give us a long trade. But let's go put in there Russell stop out. And it's this one. Minus 25. Okay. And go back over here. Get ready for the long, the possible long on the YM. Now, the Russell, we ended up just barely positive on for the morning session. The YM, we ended up just a little bit negative on for the morning session. The NQ was our big winner of the day. So hopefully we'll get another shot at that. We'll see. Okay, that's too far away now to give us a trade on the YM. So that's not going to turn into anything. I think everything's going to turn down right here. That is what I think. This one. So I'll put this earlier. Back here. All right. So we're not going to have a trade here. That stopped us out. We're not going to have a trade here. It's too far away. We're not going to have a trade here. It's not flat. We are not going to have a trade here. Nothing's gone full cycle. Everything's looking really weak right now. So I'm thinking that it's going to turn down. they're all going to flip to YBRs. That's what it feels like. It feels that way to me right now. We have 9 minutes left. I have Bart. You can go see them now in 2 places. And in about 10 minutes, you'll get an email with them too. All right, it surprised me. It moved up instead of down. It didn't give us a trade setup, but and the YM's too low, that's not a trade setup. And the Russell stopped out, so that's not a trade setup. So I think this is a little head fake to the upside right here. We'll see. But yes, Bart, the midday results were published. That was a nice leg up right there. It equaled the last leg, so that's good. That one's almost equal to the last one. That shows it's got trend. I thought everything was going to turn down. I was wrong. I take all that back. All right, so let's draw a little bit of something here. This from there to there is the leg length. So that's about it right there, 165. Yeah, we have plenty of time here. We have 6.5 minutes. I have a couple of trades. See how when it dropped out of the overbought, the mid-band shifted. When this one drops out of the overbought, down close, the mid-band's going to shift on that too. And now we'll be looking for it to get down to it. Got one take higher swing on that one. It didn't make the full leg length. See that? I think this one over here did do the full leg length. Yeah, it did. But the Russell got us. Stopped us out a little more than to the take. But, Georgia Democrat died. Seeking his 13th term, is that what that said? 13th term in Congress. That is just crazy. 52 years. Is that right? Yep. Career politician. Started in Congress in his 30s. is now, 3.5 minutes left. We don't have any trades right now. We need a down close here and a down close here to hit the mid band, and then an up close. Take it off the mid band. Well, we almost have a trade here on the NQ. We need this bar to go down, hit the mid band, and give us an up close. And that will be our trade. And we are running out of time.
Down close on the NQ.
And that's what I'm waiting for.
Would be.
It doesn't even have to be a down close. It could be a bar that have a wick that hits the mid band and closes up.
Yeah.
Down close would be better, but
right.
But it could still do it both ways. We're running out of time. Let's blow it up so we can see it a little better. That's the only one that's really in play right now. So if the top of this is at 41 and the mid band is at 28.75, it's not going to hit it on that bar.
No,
this one could be it.
I'll take another one.
The ES could do it too, though, right now.
Yeah.
They both just close down. They could both trigger.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are out of the loop. But either one of these could do it for us. We have about a minute left. It could happen. It could happen. We're negative a little bit right now because we stopped out on that Russell. We had 4 ticks on the ES and we had a stop out on the Russell. There we go on the NQ. Okay, so the low of that is 28. Now the low was lower than 28. The low is 27.
So you want to buy 37.5.
Yep, 10 points above, so it would be 37. Just plain 37. 37.
Oh, I thought the low was 27.5. Okay.
I don't think it's half. Let's look again. The low is 26.75 now.
Uh-oh.
And it's continuing down 26.
Oh, Lord.
25.50. Low of 25. So we're going to change that order to 35 now. And the ES is just hit too. So the ES has a low of 58.75, so it'd be 60.75 on the ES, and this low, is it maintaining? Low is 25 up to 35. Okay, so if the lows stay on both of these, then the order,
even if it just closes right there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
oh,
that's right.
Both of these,
it's got to push. It's got to
right
push all the way to the top. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
There's the ES and there's the NQ. They both just closed.
All right.
So I'm in both of them. And plus 10, plus 12. I'm out with 12 on the NQ. And the ES, we're at break even. It's going to give that a little bit more room here because it's trying to get up to this 200 right here.
Yeah. Price heads for the supply.
Should get up there. Hopefully it's going to do it. Nope, it took me out. Okay. Well, and that was going to be it. The YM didn't give us another trade. That didn't give us another trade. Okay, so let's just add it in. We have 12 on that and one more on the ES. That's been seen, right? Let me just see. All right, okay, one more on the ES. That should be a 5, not a 4. That's better. All right, so we're at minus 25 on the session. I want to go back in and get one more tick somewhere. Did we have anything else for one more tick? Nope. Let me just go and check and see what my fills are and see if I did actually get one more tick. The ES certainly didn't give it to me, and the NQ actually did give me the one more tick. I'll show you. Oh, wait a minute. No, it didn't. No, it didn't. It just gave me one minus tick. I got 11 ticks. I thought I got 12 ticks on the NQ, and I got 11 ticks. 35 up to 38 is what it should have been. It was 35 up to 37.75. So that went the other way on me. This becomes an 11. So we're minus 75 bucks. All right. Well, it's another white day. If you had a little more time, I'm sure we'd get it where we want it. But this is the way it's working out. 4 trades with 1 stop out. So 75% of our trades are break even or better. We traded for 18 minutes. We ended up with minus 75 bucks this time. In these afternoon sessions, we're having about 16 minutes to trade average, and we're averaging the goal for the day plus a little bit in those 16 minutes, $114 per session in those 16 minutes. All right, so if you haven't taken a free trial with us, go to mytradingiq.com, click on the purple button. There's no credit card required. Click on that. It's going to bring you to the registration page. Just fill it out. Once you fill that out, give us a trading view login ID down at the bottom. We'll get your indicators indicating on your desktop so you can follow along with us in the trial. And that is it. With that, we can pass it back out to fabulous Phoenix, Arizona in Studio A overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Dwayne is ready.
I'm ready. Recap of the morning session.
Today, it took 4 minutes and 2 trades to get to $1,550.
Great job.
Thank you very much.
Okay, guys, one last look here at the daily chart. Now, I've gone through all the markets in granular fashion as I do each and every day. If you missed any part of today's broadcast, you can, about 10 minutes after I sign off, go to youtube.com/CFRN. That's the Christian Financial Radio Network since 2005. But all you got to remember is youtube.com/CFRN. You can watch today's broadcast in its entirety, or fast forward to any part you want to see, anything you missed. But here's what you want to watch as we head into the close and Tesla's earnings after the bell. Blue and climbing is directly above price. And if price stops there, we're going to have a triple top in place on the daily chart. The black step line has already crossed blue and climbing. So wherever we run into resistance, we anticipate a retracement back to the VBC. But we got the 24% fib retracement right in the middle there, so that's probably going to be good for a bounce. And then we'll continue down until we get to the VBC, because price always reverts to the mean. As you can see on the ES, we hit the long target right here last night, or this morning at 8 o'clock, based off the bearish cross from yesterday. Dow, same thing, bearish cross, boom, long target. Russell, long target, long target, long target. Now it looks like it's heading for the short target. Remember, this area right here is potentially good support on the Russell, 2778. The NQ, after all that consolidation, it finally broke to the upside. Now the black step line had crossed. This is unusual behavior right here. Okay, and you got to remember that kind of thing is going to happen. If you're chasing the Holy Grail, looking for the one thing that always works 100% of the time, you need to either change your thinking or just donate your money to a worthy charity. Now look at how the zones have performed this week. Support, support, support. And then that's what happens 70% of the time is consolidation. Here we had rejection, rejection, rejection. 10% of the time you get the slice. So that's where we are. The NQ is trying to climb. So maybe Tesla's going to report good. I don't know. Crude, we hit the long target, but the step line is crossing, so look for a retracement back to the BBC. Gold, we had a nice rally overnight, and now we've given most of it back. And silver, still consolidating. Just kind of quiet day. It was a wide-ranging bearish day yesterday, so to have an inside day of quiet consolidation is not unusual. Just hopefully tonight, when the markets reopen, we resume the uptrend. Now, again, I went through everything in granular fashion. So if you missed any part, you want to see any part, you want to study any part, youtube.com/CFRN. To become a member, get a hold of Valerie. You can email her, support@cfrn.net. You can call her, 949-42-EMINI. If you get her voicemail, just leave a message. She'll call you back. Let her know you want to become a member, and she will send you an info packet that explains everything it means to become a passport holder. Once you become a passport holder, you get 2 hours of live training every trading day. Now that's huge, because 9 out of 10 new traders fail because they don't have anyone to teach them how to trade. We spend 2 hours teaching you every trading day. And if that weren't enough, as a passport holder, you get private one-on-one mentoring. No extra charge. All you got to do is ask. The strategy you learn, the indicators you use as a passport holder are fluid across all markets and all time frames. Stocks, futures, crypto, Forex, ETF, it doesn't matter. Price flows the same across all markets and all time frames. From support to resistance, back to support, back to resistance, over and over, again and again. It's a never-ending cycle. It's just how markets work. As a passport holder, you'll get the Logic 247 alerts around the clock. That's going to help you learn how to read the chart. Every evening, 5 minutes ahead of the Globex Open, you'll get the concierge trade alerts. Every Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern, you get the weekly trading zones. And every Thursday night, you're able to attend the members-only workshop at 8 p.m. Eastern. Last but not least, you get the golden keys that open all the private channels in Telegram, and there's a bunch. Everything a trader needs, all under one roof, one low price. It's a good deal. I checked. Let's wrap it up with our good word for the day. Anxiety. Everybody's talking about how much anxiety they have. The millions upon millions, the tens of millions of people in America today on Xanax or Valium or some other variant is mind-boggling. It's 10 times what it was a decade ago. With these 24-hour news cycles and all the stuff going on in the world, everybody's freaking out about something. But there is another solution. There is healing for your anxiety. You see, the Xanax and the Valium, all that does is calm you down for a little bit. But as soon as the drug wears off, you're tied in knots again. So you can treat the symptom, or you can treat what's causing the anxiety. 1 Peter 5:7 says, "Cast all your anxiety on him, because he cares for you." Paul wrote in Philippians 4:6, "Don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need and thank Him for all He has done. Then you will experience God's peace, which exceeds anything we can understand." Jesus Himself said in Matthew 6:31, "Don't worry about these things, saying, 'What will we eat? What will we drink? What will we wear?' These things dominate the thoughts of unbelievers, but your Heavenly Father already knows all your needs. Seek the kingdom of God above all else and live righteously, and He will give you everything you need." It doesn't say He'll give you everything you want. He says He'll give you everything you need. Big difference. Not saying He won't give you what you want if it aligns with His will for your life. You're in like Flynn. So instead of meditating on our problems, we need to meditate on how good and loving God really is. When we keep our minds on our problems, we create anxiety. But when we keep our minds on the promises of God, we get infused with His peace. So allow the promises of God to heal your soul of worry and stress by focusing on His goodness and willingness to show Himself strong on your behalf. In 2 Chronicles 16:9 we read, "The eyes of the Lord search the whole earth in order to strengthen those whose hearts are fully committed to Him." Gordon, what's the verse number in Philippians? Let me give you that. Philippians 4:6-7. So again, instead of meditating on our problems, let's learn to meditate on how good and loving our God really is. Keeping our minds on our problems just creates more anxiety. But when we dwell on the promises of God, we get infused with His peace. Allow the promises of God to heal your soul of worry and stress by focusing on His goodness and willingness to show Himself strong on your behalf. The eyes of the Lord search the whole earth in order to strengthen those whose hearts are fully committed to Him. 2 Chronicles 16:9. Our Heavenly Father loves us dearly. He already knows everything we need. When we take hold of that truth, fear and doubt fall by the wayside. Confession. I don't give in to needless worry. I pray about problems rather than complain about them. God hears my prayers, and I thank Him for all He has provided for me. I experience God's peace because I know He hears me and has already answered my prayers in Christ Jesus. And that's our good word for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with His mercy and with His grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading E-mini futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.